Hello, I'm back. Kimberly Carey with So Sassy Stitcher. Last time we visited for Andromeda, I got all of the templates cut, and now I have been working on putting them on the next piece. And so what you're gonna end up with are pieces that look like this, okay? So they're getting attached to these guys. When you see it in the quilt, it's gonna look like this, but for right now, we're not stitching these two together. Now, the thing about these are, they have an S-curve, woohoo! I generally don't mind curves too much, they're not my fave, but S-curves are a little bit more finicky because you can't just do it all the way across. It's not a real strong S-curve, but it is an S-curve. So that basically just means that we've got curves that go divergent directions. So we've got this curve going this way and this curve going this way. So this is what we're gonna end up with. That's our finished product. You wanna make sure that you get the left and the rights done, put together, and not mix those up, okay? So if I have the template and the pieced, you can see it's gonna go like this, okay? So you just wanna make sure that that is correct. Now, if you have a batik that it doesn't matter front or back, then if you put the wrong one on, it's not going to be the end of the world, but just try to make sure that that is correct. You can see I have TRPs here, TRP here, TRP here, TRP here. Now you can kind of see as I have it sitting here, these TRPs don't match up. That could be a template, you know, that I just didn't get it quite right on the template. But what I have found on these is that it actually works itself out a little bit when I am putting it on, okay? So this is the right hand one. I'll show you the left hand one as well. It's exactly the same, just mirror imaged. But the first thing that we're gonna do to put these together is I'm gonna take and put the template on top. And that is because the way that this curves, we're gonna be able to scrunch this up to make that convex curve versus the concave curve. So your convex curve, the one that curves in, is always gonna be on top. Your concave, this is convex, this is concave. Concave is always on top. Your convex that goes out is always gonna be on the bottom. Now, I am going to line up these TRPs here. And here. And then on the end. Okay, the instructions do say to take the paper off. I did not take the paper off until I got past it a little ways. You can, it'll probably make it a little bit easier for you because then you're not trying to keep the fabric lined up with the paper. You don't have to take all of it off. You can just take past that 1/4 inch mark. So I'm just gonna rip this off real quick. Be careful not to rip my TRPs out or any of my stitches. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip this back over, matching up those TRPs. Make sure that you do have those TRPs marked on your fabric. It does make a difference. So we're gonna glue these seams And you can use the water-soluble stick glue like I've shown you before. There's also another glue product out there that you can use that's fairly simple and easy to use. It is still removable, so if you make a mistake, if it doesn't quite line up, it does come apart really easily without messing up the fabric. So this is what it is. This is from Acorn. It's seam-aligned glue. You can see it has this itty bitty dispenser here, and what that is going to allow us to do is I can take this, and I'm gonna zoom in here so that you can see. I can take this and I can just put dots within the seam allowance, and it does not take much, okay? Just a small dot of glue. Okay, and then I can take and I can just walk this along to match the edge. And then to set this glue is just a quick iron press. Even once you have pressed this and it's set, you can still take it apart and it won't be an issue. But I can just take, you can use this for applique. So like all the carnival flowers that are out there, you can use it for that. It's a pretty good product. I've used it for Dresden plates. Okay. So then I can just throw this under the iron and get the right one that I want to show you here. Nope, that's not it either. Did I sew all of them? I think I did. Let me throw that under the iron real quick and I will show you what I'm talking about with the being able to take it apart. So I'm just gonna iron this real quick. It doesn't take much, even a small, like little travel iron will work. Just make sure that when you're ironing it, that your alignment stays correct. But it doesn't take much to get that to set. So now that I have it ironed, you can see this one moved just a little bit, and it's partly because it's still hot. But the nice thing is I can just pop that up and now it's apart and I can realign it. And you don't even have to add more glue to it. You can just iron that back down, okay? So we're gonna do the same thing with our left-hand side. Okay, so I like to, especially with these, I like to line them up so that I know that I'm getting the two pieces together correctly. I'm going to quickly from the TRP line over, just remove some of this paper. And then before I go do the next side, I'll make sure that that side is removed. But for right now, that's all I need to do. Okay. And like I said, I did leave it on when I did my first ones. It wasn't that big of a deal, but you can move it. Okay, so now this is the opposite side. So we're working this side. Okay, TRP line to that end point. So I've got my concave on top. And we're gonna throw a pin in at that TRP. We're gonna throw a pin in at the next TRP. And part of the reason why the TRPs are so long is because you're actually lining up those TRPs. It's not just that 1/4 inch point, it's actually the whole length so that you can get the angle of it correct. So keep that in mind as you're lining up those TRP points. It's not just that 1/4 inch point that matters. You're lining up that whole thing so that you can get it angled correctly. Now I'm going to use that seam glue again, and I'm just going to make some dots. It doesn't take much. And then I can just ease that convex fabric or concave fabric to match the convex fabric. And then I'm going to do the next section. And again, you can use that water-soluble glue stick, and you're just going to rub it along that edge, and then you're going to do the same thing. If this were a stronger curve and wasn't so light of a curve, I would want to do more bunching of this fabric here, but I don't really need to. I can just use my fingers and kind of ease that in, and it's going to do fine. Now I'm going to throw that iron on that, set that glue before I stitch it. Then we are going to end up with, when I stitch it, okay, now this is what I stitched. I stitched this on, I had it glued, stitched it on, okay? So now I have this hanging out, right? I have not ironed this open yet, but now I have my concave on top and, or convex on top and my concave on the bottom, okay? So I'm gonna flip this over, and this is the other side of our S curve. Now I have it how I want it. We're gonna line up this end point, and we've got our smart corner. Now it's not real strong of a smart corner, but you can see it angles just a little bit. That angle is gonna go right here, okay? And again, this isn't real strong either, but we're gonna line up those points, and then that follows along, and we're going to throw a pin in right here, and we're going to keep those points, that smart corner, together. Okay, now this is a sharper curve. It's still going to work out. We're going to put that glue on our convex piece that's on the bottom. We're just going to dot that along. Okay, and now I'm just going to work this in, lining up those edges. And the more I bunch up the top fabric, the more of a curve I'm going to get. And then I'm just going to go along and kind of set that glue. Then I'm going to throw that iron on it to be able to set it before I stitch it. Okay, now here again, this is the other side, right? And you can, this is what I did some of too. I'm going to put this glue here so that that piece is out of my way, and I'm going to glue all the way along to that end point. Okay. Now I am going to put this end point and make sure that my smart corner lines up. I'm going to throw a pin in this. like so. We already have our TRP line lined up right here. So now I am going to just ease this in. And some of them go easier than others. My grandma used to always say, it's just fabric, make it do what you want. Well, sometimes that's easier said than done, right? We all fight with it sometimes. And if you need a touch more glue to get it to stay, you can do that. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put the glue on, I'll take it over to my ironing table so that I don't have to move it. I can just get it set and iron it. Okay, so it's gonna look like that, and it's gonna look a little wonky. It's not gonna lay nice and flat right now, and that's okay. All right, so you can see I have this one glued and ironed. You can see it's nice and tight, but I can still pop that glue off if I need to. Okay, so then this is gonna go underneath my machine. I'm gonna stitch that, and the instructions say to stitch from the end point to your TRP. Now, that is mostly correct on one side. That works really, really well, especially to have that green one on top. Now, so that works well for this one. I'm gonna put it in my machine like this. I'm gonna stitch like this. The other one, and I played around with this a little bit, I did stitch from the TRP line to the end point. It does make that end point just a little bit wonky. So you can turn this over and stitch in your machine like this. Just make sure that you have your top piece lifted up when you do that, so that it will lay a little bit better for you going through your machine. Okay. Then once you have that stitched, you're gonna take it over to your iron, and you're gonna open it up and you're gonna iron towards your template piece. It's not piece, so it's gonna lay nice and flat for you, even with that S curve. Okay, so you can see my points here. They're not 100% perfect, but they're pretty darn close. I can take these TRP lines out now because I have those done. And I do suggest going ahead and taking them out, because it's a lot harder to find all your TRP lines when your whole quilt is put together. I like to take them out as I go. It makes it a little bit faster and easier for you. So I hope that helps you put those templates together. Next month we'll work on that outside border, and then in October we'll work on putting the whole gosh darn thing together, which is, shouldn't take too much longer. We'll see how it goes, but I hope the templates go well for you. Please let me know if you have any issues, and I'll see if I can help you out. Happy quilting.